Right.
So you're coming into Austin on Thursday to premiere a new piece.
Yes. Yeah, it's a 47-minute solo percussion piece by John Luther Adams.
How'd you get hooked up with him?
Well, I've been a big fan of his music for a long time now. And particularly in the last 8 to 10 years, he's really written a lot of super interesting percussion pieces. And so just as a fan, I knew he lived in Fairbanks, Alaska, of all places. And I played drums in the rock band Wilco. We were up there doing a show, and, just thought I'd invite him out to the show in case he was around, just because I was a fan of his. And he was around, and we had dinner and talked, and kind of got the idea to commission him to write a piece for me, because I get to do a lot of great, fun, interesting shows, in the rock band with my duo on Fillmore. But, I have this trained background in classical percussion,
Right.
and, me that kind of misses that too, and I like to keep balance, musically between those different kinds of styles and the skills that they required. And so I thought it'd be nice to write a piece or have him write a piece for me, and so got the ball rolling that way. He agreed to do it, and several years later, here we are.
Well, that worked out nicely.
Yeah.
So did you have much input on the piece then?
Well, he decided to. The one thing I requested is that it either be for or include some drum set, because that's my main instrument.
Right.
Drum set, which can kind of mean anything, from a multiple percussion standpoint. It doesn't have to, just be what we think of as a normal drum set. And I thought that there's just a lot of possibilities there that haven't really been tapped. Drums just usually get for, playing, keeping the beat and groove-based music, blues, rock, jazz. And there's just a lot of possibilities, I thought, to explore that. Now, John had written sketches for a piece and had a piece that had one performance in the late 90s that he kind of used as a bring-off point. And that one he had retracted. It wasn't working the way he wanted. And he kind of just retracted it and kind of it was left for dead for a while. And so he got the idea to kind of work it and start from there. So that's what he did. So it's got one section, a section that's kind of broken up into 15, 20-minute sections, and the last section is all on a large drum, 8-tom, 8-cymbal drum kit. The middle sections for 7 cymbals and tam-tam, and then the first section's all on just concert bass drum.
Yeah, I was wondering how that would work out, because I saw that it was described as a drum kit opera, and I know that you have a pretty interesting drum set. You have some Crotales on there that you use a lot with Wilco. It's not all completely on drum set, but it is, a big portion of it is completely on a drum kit, though?
Yeah, kind of the finale portion of it. I mean, I like to kind of use, incorporate a lot of different things on the drum set and kind of keep it living, playable, just the set kind of thing. But he did, it actually challenges me in a lot of different ways than, on my solo kit that you just described, with all sorts of interesting gadgets and keyboard percussion and sound percussion and electronics and everything. This is much more of a physical challenge for me. It's a super intense workout. Basically, by the end of physically and mentally exhausted. I mean, I'm completely sore just from practicing this piece right now. It's a tough one. But as far as the term opera, I don't know. I don't know if he ever used that term or if he is calling it that. I'm not really sure. How you define that, but it is based on Ilimak is that's the name of it, is the word for spirit journeys, and up where he lives in Alaska, he's had a lot of contact over the past few decades with the Inuit cultures up there, and this kind of idea comes from Inuit shaman legend. So it kind of starts, the first section is under the ice and then breaking through the ice and finally up into the air. So it is kind of like a spirit journey of going into a different realm or a different world, and that's conceptually what the whole piece is based on.
I'm looking forward to seeing that. I bought tickets quite a while ago. I'm pretty excited for it.
Yeah, me too. Hopefully it'll go well. This is the University of Texas was the lead commissioner on it. It's got, like 5 or 6 other performances scheduled right now all the way into the spring of 2018. So I'm going to get several shots at it.
Yeah.
But, I'm hoping the first one's successful.
Yeah,
also,
me too.
The thing I haven't touched upon is, besides me live, he also created what he's calling an aura of sound. So basically, he took a lot of organic cymbal sounds and metallic sounds, and then kind of sculpted them, in using these programs, kind of catering the frequencies and creating an accompaniment track that I play along to that has no rhythm, but it kind of sets the tone and vibe of each section. And besides that, it's also written for 3 layers of delay. So, when I'm playing, 24 seconds later, and half 2 minutes into the piece, you're hearing 4 of me. And it really kind of just builds this really incredible sonic experience, in the room, with sound coming from all over the place.
That sounds right up your alley, because I know you're a big user of found sound in your solo stuff especially, and also some with, on Fillmore. I know that, like, when you're on tour with Wilco, you'll walk around the city with a tape recorder and make some field recordings.
Yeah, constantly. Kind of wherever I am, if I hear an interesting sound or something that grabs my ear as being different or cool or just unusual, I'll usually just record that. And that has come incredibly handy with on Fillmore especially, but, I also incorporate those in solo work. There's, on Wilco records, I've used those recordings, but you'll hear a lot of that on Thursday with On Fillmore, which is my duo with Darren Gray.
Right.
And that's much more, well, I can't say traditional, but there are melodies and harmony and things like that happening that, kind of a modified drum set and keyboard, and then Darren took up at bass and now string guitar. We use field recordings and bird calls and sounds. Those really factor into that because a band is based largely around the concept of place as well. So we try and kind of conjure up these different atmospheres and different locations with what we're playing.
So you just got done with a pretty extensive tour with Wilco, which seems like you guys always, embark on a pretty long tour when you guys go out. And I was wondering how you guys prepare for that, because you guys aren't really a band that, goes out with 2 or 3 set lists and, you trade them out every night. You'll pull from every corner of the catalog.
Well, yeah, I guess, this last tour we just wrapped up kind of did go 14 months, which is an incredibly long time.
Yeah.
And, there's little breaks in there. We're not on a 14 solid, thank God. I have 2 small children. A lot of us have kids and are married, have lives other than the band. That helps being able to tap into a lot of different songs from all periods of the band, helps keep it interesting and to kind of an organic growing thing instead of, I think we'd all kill each other if we played the same set list for 14 months straight. And I think the fans would just, not be that into it. So, it all started several years back. We did a residency in Chicago 6 nights in a row.
Right, but you played all of your
the entire
songs,
catalog.
Right?
So since then, we've kind of knew we could play anything in the catalog that we wanted to. And so now when we go to, city, fans can look on the website for requests, and, inevitably, the third of the set list will be influenced by that. We'll obviously play some things from whatever record we're promoting at the time, and some songs that just kind of seem like they're staples live now. But then the other kind of third remaining songs are, change night to night, and I guess we don't really rehearse ever. We rehearsed, I think, one afternoon before this whole last tour started. So that would be, the only rehearsal in a few years. But we do have sound checks every day before the show, so we know what the requests are at that time.
Mm-hmm.
So, we have an hour there to check if everything's working properly, and then also, run over something a few times. So it's more individual. You just have to remember how the songs go.
You guys, with the website, trying to develop a kind of almost like Deadhead following, where you'll have people that track the set lists every night and trade bootlegs, which you guys allow bootleg recording at your shows. So, is that something that you seek to have a closer connection with your fans and maybe other bands would have?
I don't know. I mean, those things just seem to make sense. Not playing the same list, like I said, keeps it musically interesting for us and for the fans too. And allowing people to record just kind of makes sense to us. I don't know. It's, just part of the experience. When we record the show, that's great.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I just think that it's all just common sense. I'm not sure if there's some, master plan that all that fits into, but
yeah.
It just seems like the right thing to do. And if fans appreciate it, that's great.
So for your solo stuff, I saw a video where you were working on a piece for a drum set quartet, or a percussion quartet.
Right.
Where it was a demo of these hi-hats that just kept trading off different rhythms. And you said, I don't know why, but that sounds like music to me, probably not to most people. Do you find it difficult to engage an audience with a purely percussive piece?
I don't know. I probably have, a defense mechanism built up in my head. If you're talking about one of the pieces I wrote for solo percussion, they commissioned them, and I wrote a series of drum kit quartets. Not all of the pieces were on drum kits, but they all started on drum kits and then kind of orchestrated out from there. And that particular piece you mentioned was based on, it wasn't random rhythms. It had a definite concept to it of each having their own kind of rhythmic melody happening, or cadence, and then the structure slowly collapses. So it goes from 4 to 2, and so the whole piece just kind of implodes. And I guess what I meant was with the 4 different sounding hi-hats, I have a pretty open mind musically. Obviously, I love percussion, and when I listen to it, I can hear the different melodies, happening in there, and these themes coming back, as it collapses and getting shorter and getting trampled on more by the other parts. And but I kind of hear this formal structure. I hear this melody. I hear the interaction between the pieces happening. And I think maybe to, people who don't listen to a lot of music outside the mainstream, I was probably that they're just going to hear this as a bunch of sounds and not get it, which is fine. That's cool too. But, so I get that in my head that that's how people are going to. Also, when I do play solo shows, I'm always amazed at how receptive people are. So I think it's just that people haven't been exposed to a lot of this music before, or this type of music before, and when they do actually see it here live, I think it's a lot more accessible than I probably have in my head. But it's just that it's new and unfamiliar. I hope that answers that.
I'm looking forward to it. I think it'll be super interesting.
I think, just to add on to that, I think a lot of people listen to a piece like Ionization, which is a percussion ensemble by Edgar Reese, from, I think it was in the 1920s, written for, a John Cage, like Credo, I think that's the 40s. Listen to those, and they might think that there's just a bunch of random sounds too, or not. This have been picked apart and analyzed by so many, academics through the decades.
Mm-hmm.
Those are definitely, pieces of music, and I think now that people have studied those composers because they are so legendary, hear pieces like that, and it's like, oh yeah, of course, this is normal music. But I think, at the time when they came out, it was probably viewed more as noise because it was so out of the ordinary.
Right. John Cage especially had, some of that where people were super unreceptive to pieces that he had written. So, Jeff Tweedy, I heard him talk about how Wilco, I think in his words, he said they lack the focus to make an album with a single defined sound when he was talking about The Whole Of.
Uh-huh.
To me, I think, like Yankee Hotel Foxtrot especially has a very cohesive sound. I think that your drumming plays a huge role in that. You have the kind of pots and pans percussion all over it, and the Kotche again reappear throughout the album. And some songs like Radio Cure will have this kind of tribalness to them with the drum beat. Is that something that you think about when you're recording an album? Do you think about how your percussion will play into the overall, what people will perceive as the overall theme of the album?
No. Actually, honestly, well, first of all, like with Yankee Hotel Foxtrot, I can see your point with that, and I think, no, if that sounds more unified than maybe some of the other records, a big reason might be, Jim O'Rourke, who mixed that record, really had a big impact on the record. When we brought it to him, it was still kind of conceptually, or not conceptually, but sonically, it was still a big mess, and he really brought it into fit, and, finished a lot of recording and finished a lot of the tunes kind of in post-production with him mixing, too. So I think that's maybe why it was so quickly and so, kind of the Jeff and me and Jim were in mixing. Jim was mixing with Jeff, but I was also there hanging out because Jim's a good friend. But I think maybe that's why it has such a sound to it, because he did have such a big part shaping, with, of course, Jeff's and everything. But
right.
I don't get that way in terms of drum parts. I'm always kind of thinking of, because, when we're recording a record, I don't know what songs are going to make it on the record or not. We have no idea what we're recording, and we kind of see what fits together after we get a batch of songs done. So I kind of just do justice to each individual song, because I think if I tried to put this overarching, theme, that it may, I don't know, it might not be fair to one of the songs. It might not be what one of the songs really needs. If I decided to go and just play electronic drums, or I was just going to use my hands or something like that, it may not be what a song calls for. So I try and treat them all as individual, pieces of music, and then hopefully they'll fit together. And my inclination is actually the opposite. When I make records on my own or with my duo, I do like them to be very refined sonically, as far as conceptually sound, kind of one style, one thing, one flavor. But I kind of like that, to a record. So it's just not how we operate, really. We all have a lot of different interests and a lot of different ideas. And, I think if you go through our last, 5 records, you could make, one record, a compilation that sounds like a record.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the edgier, more songs. And you could do another one of just the more really kind of stripped-down folk songs, and another one of just the pop songs, because those elements seem to appear on every one of the records,
mm-hmm.
Just for a flash here and there, which, ultimately might be what the fans like, because it is, it does keep jumping around and keeps things interesting.
Right. So you have a World War II era marimba, is that correct?
Yeah.
What is the story
Must be a percussionist.
behind that? Yes, I am. What's the story behind that marimba? Where do you get it?
Oh, I just got it. There's a instrument dealer in Chicago, in the old factory, Century Mallet Instruments, and I just put it there once to get something tuned, and oh no, you know what? That's not true. That's where I got my vibraphone, my old vibraphone in glockenspiel. But this, I just bought from a friend in Chicago. He was selling it, getting rid of it, and I saw it, and I didn't have a marimba, and it's just a small little one. And I took it up to Century to get it fixed up and to get it retuned and all cleaned up. But it's just an old funky marimba with hardwood resonators, because there was a strict restriction on manufacturing instruments with metal during
Right.
World War II, because they needed it for the war effort. But it's just a nice, 2.5 octave marimba. You couldn't play modern literature on it because it's such a short range, but it's a nice instrument.
Cool. All right, well, thank you for taking time out to talk to us today.
Yeah, no, thanks for your interest, and I hope you have a good afternoon.
Thank you. You too.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye bye.